Hello, this is Kaki Lee, and welcome to the Abundant Goddess Show, where I'll be sharing daily, bite sized pearls of wisdom I've picked up along my life journey that has allowed me to embrace and unleash my inner abundant goddess. And that's exactly what I want for you, to embrace and unleash your inner abundant goddess. I love talking about anything and everything to do with life, but I especially love talking about money, mindset, and energy, which is the main focus here. If you like what you hear, make sure you subscribe to my show so you don't miss out on your daily dose of wisdom from myself. And also follow me and let me know what you think on Facebook and Instagram at Abundance with Kaki Lee. Now let's get into it. Welcome to the Abundant Goddess Show and day 8 of my 40 Days to 40 series, where I share 40 things I've learned in my life so far over 40 days. Today's pearl of wisdom is question everything. When I was young, I was too scared to ask questions about anything. It was my way to fit in and not appear any more different than I already was, because I am obviously of Chinese descent, growing up in Australia where it is a predominantly Caucasian society. So my parents were, as an immigrant family, my parents taught me that I needed to fit in. And to fit in, you make yourself unheard and unseen. So don't ask questions that will offend or upset people. Now, I salute my parents for being so courageous and brave to bring our family over here to Australia. And I'm so grateful for that, because my goodness, I can't even imagine myself growing up in Hong Kong. But at the same time, not questioning things is actually the worst thing you can do. Now, it's not like I never asked questions. It was just that if it was a question that could upset people or make you draw attention to yourself, then no, don't ask that question. So throughout high school, throughout uni, I wouldn't question anything the professor taught me, because it is what it is. It is what's being taught. It is in a textbook, therefore it should be right, right? They got taught by someone else, so they taught us, and that means it's right, and that those things never change. Or does it? So I never asked, because I was too scared to ask. I didn't want to draw attention to myself by asking a question, even though maybe everyone else in the class might be asking the same question. And you'll find that as I grew older, you'll find that you'll have this question in your head, but you're too scared to ask. But thank goodness some brave soul put their hand up and asked a question, because that was the exact question that you wanted to ask, but was too piss weak. Can't even say the word. Too scared. Let's use a nicer word. Too scared to ask. But who are you doing a disservice to by not asking a question to find out the answer? You're doing yourself a disservice, right? The teacher doesn't know. The person in front teaching does not know that you have a question. They just assume you understand. So you're the one that doesn't know the answer or doesn't get the explanation to explain the concept that they're teaching. And as I grew older, I became more comfortable in my own skin, and I would start asking questions. When I first started work at the hospital, there were some things that were done that were like, why do we do it this way? So one of my superpowers is that I'm very logical. I mean, now I embrace my illogical side, but I've got a very logical brain. Everything fits a certain way. And I can see when systems and processes aren't working, and I'm very good at streamlining and fixing broken systems. That's one of my superpowers. So when I got to the hospital, and I was like, why are we doing this way? like, hang on, can you explain? And can you tell me why we're doing it this way? No one could explain it to me. No one. Because the answer I got was, that's just how we've always done it. There was no rhyme or reason for doing it that particular way. It was just that that was how it was done. And no one questioned it or asked a question about it. Funnily enough, I started working there, and within a month, people were asking me questions on how to do things. It was like, I only just started here, and there's other people that's been working here for way longer than me. But people could see, it's like, oh, okay, she understands why we do stuff, or she's worked it out already, right? And I'm not saying that I'm better than anyone else. I'm just giving an example of what's happened in my life. So anyway, so I started questioning things quite a bit after that. And when I started my self-discovery journey, I had to ask a lot of questions, but to myself. I had to question why I believe certain things. What is my purpose? Why am I here? Is God real? Is like everything that we've been taught real? All these questions that were that came up in my head to ask, because it was like, it was an awakening. Like, why am I here? What is my purpose? Is this all there is? So it's quite funny what happens when you start asking questions. When you start asking other people questions, most of the time people can't actually answer your question. If you ask them why they do something, why they believe something, they will tell you most of the time, unless they actually do know, oh, that's just how it's always been. So and so taught me that. This was in this book. Or that's just how it's always been. They're your typical answers. And for the people you ask questions to who are not open to discussion, they will get triggered for you even daring to ask a question and affecting the status quo. So they get angry or they shut you down. And when you start asking yourself questions, you realize how much bullshit you've been feeding yourself, or people have been feeding to you to keep you stuck. For me, I realized how important it is to ask questions, especially when it affects the well-being of myself or my family. Then I need to know the answers. Then in the last 2 years, I couldn't not ask questions because nothing was making sense. And it was strange questioning things, because people get angry when you ask questions. And I felt like I was living on another planet or dimension, and maybe I was, or I still am. But it's so important to ask questions to get the answer. And now the other thing I want to bring in is that most people already have preconceived answers. They already know what they want to hear. So if, for example, I don't like someone and I ask them a question and they're telling me the truth, they're telling me exactly what is going on, because I don't like that person, for me, whatever they tell me is not true, even if it was. So it's really important to go in when you question things, to have a really open mind, to accept all the different answers that you're going to get. Because I can assure you, when you ask one question, like, does this work? You have someone tell you, yes, it does, because look at this. And you have someone else telling you, no, it doesn't. Look at this. So keep asking questions until you are satisfied with the answer, and don't get the answer from everyone else. Get it for yourself, because everyone else also has their preconceived notions and ideas or answers of what they want to hear. Unless you speak to someone that is very open-minded and can give you 2 versions or 3 versions or 4 versions of an answer and an understanding of what they're telling you, then you go, okay, right. Now I can make an informed decision. Most people don't ask questions because it's just too hard and they'll just follow whatever they are being told. But that's not good when it can affect how you live and what your beliefs are and how you go about in the world. Think about your children. Do you want them to live in a world where they can't ask questions, or they get told one answer and that is the only answer that you're going to get? Because if you ask questions, you're a bad person. So my takeaway is the most important thing you can do in your life is ask the question. Question everything and keep asking until you are satisfied. That's the end of the show and day 8 of my 40 Days to 40 series. Please share this episode with anyone that needs a reminder to question everything. If you like what you heard, make sure you subscribe to my podcast, to my show, and remember to follow me over at Facebook or Instagram at Abundance with Kaki Lee. There's fun things happening there leading up to my 40th birthday on the 30th of May. And lastly, if you're interested in working with me or learning from me, please send me a DM on Facebook or Instagram, or email me at hello@kakilee.com.